Well, hello. My name's Chris, otherwise known as Zaphod, and you join me here in the limo. The Mini's being borrowed by my stepdaughter at the moment, so this one's slumming it, seeing the clients for a couple of days or so while her car has some work done on it. So today being Monday around about lunchtime, this one's back for my week's leave. First week I've had this financial year. Well rested, well broken, done a lot more things at home than I do working, quite frankly. But that's the way it is. So where we left the last episode, I was going to talk about positive things with clients. Now, you cannot help but build up a relationship with your client. There's the professional side and there's the personal side. And over the years, the majority of clients I've come to see, we've grown a very close friendship. And I've probably said this before, but it's like coming home to your mother and father, or brothers or sisters, or aunts or uncles, eccentric or otherwise. And that is fantastic, because that makes the caring process that much easier. Perhaps that's just the way I am with clients, I don't know. I have been told in the past that this one does build up confidence in clients to the point that they no longer need our services. And that's fantastic. That is not a sad day, that's a big bonus. And the full circle of starting and then finishing, and then people can lead their lives independently with confidence. As I've said before, we were just there to plug the gaps. That is a fantastic last page to their chapters, and they get on with life as they did before we helped them out, support and what have you, when we first visited them. As I say, you cannot help but have that bond. But yeah, there's been very interesting characters that I've met down the years. Fascinating life stories. There's one chap who he went back to Godalming to be close to his family. He was kind of marooned in this part of the world, and he went back to Surrey. Interesting chap. His life story was, well, he should have written it all down. I know he did some of it. In his working life, he was a graphic designer. He worked with Thames TV and BBC as a freelance graphic designer, which meant that he worked on, from producing graphics, what have you, for shows, to actually designing and creating sets. One he did do was for a Thames TV series called Robin's Nest with, you may remember, Richard O'Sullivan and Tessa Wyatt. He did everything on that. The things we don't think about. Like Robin in the series owned and ran a bistro. This was back in the 1970s, 1980s, this show. And he designed everything there, from even the menus on the tables, the crockery, set designing. And this client kept a log of all the work he did, which I looked through. As a freelance, he had to obviously keep a log. He worked with Kenny Everett. Kenny Everett was a close friend of his, and from what the client told me, Kenny was a really lovely, lovely man. On and off screen, he was the same. Very intelligent. There's quite a few japes and jokes and incidents that they had between the client and Kenny had between them. Really lovely chap. He was a model maker as well, and he told me that he was seconded, if that's the word, by NASA in the 1960s to create and build models of the craft rockets that astronauts were going in up to space to the finest detail, the last nut and bolt, the last handhold. This was in the days before computer technology. You couldn't do what you could today on screen, just create a program or a series of videos, what have you, detailing the layout of a rocket and where everything was. So Rodney did this. His name was Rodney. He did all this by hand, and he spent a good 9 months out with NASA. But as technology moved on fairly swiftly in this area in the 60s, his services no longer required, and he came back to this country and continued his work with the Beeb and the celebrities and the shows and what have you. Fascinating man. There's been there's one chap I used to see. I was talking about him with a client this morning. Actually, there's a couple that I saw. Now, he was in his mid-90s, and bless his heart, he had a severe form of dementia. My role was to help him have a shower in the mornings, and once he had his shower, we'd go out for a long walk. And he was perfectly happy doing this. A little bit of a conversationalist, but he did have severe dementia. Now, he was a Royal Marine, and for his age, he was extremely fit. As I say, we used to go out for long walks. And his dementia was so bad that I don't know how his wife, who also had mobility problems, I don't know how she coped. There's one story about him. Now, all the doors had to be locked at home because he had the tendency to wander off, which is why I stepped in and he'd go for a walk with me, accompanied, so he'd be safe. But the doors would be locked. And he wouldn't be able to work out why the doors were locked because he wasn't aware of his dementia. Not really. And yes, there was one occasion where he got so frustrated, he managed to force a window open, get himself out of it, jump out of it, land on his feet, and disappear. There was one occasion where I was part of a search party to find him because he'd gone walkabout again. And I found him in town and stopped the car and said, "Hello, so-and-so." "Oh, hello, Chris." I said, "Do you fancy a lift home?" "Yes, please," he said. So we delivered him off home. No, what a thing to do at 96. As I say, being a Royal Marine, you didn't know what you're going to find every day with him, but with me he was fine. But having that tendency for that learned behaviour when he was in the forces, he could have used that in the wrong situation or wrong circumstance and got himself into a little bit of trouble. But he was quite a character. You then tend to find that most clients are welcoming and a bit standoffish to begin with. As I might have said before, it's a strange person in the form of a carer coming to their home. They don't know what to expect, neither do we. But 99.9 times out of 100, within the first week, they understand how we work and what the situation is, the SP, and why we are hit there. They wondered why they're really first worried. But it's an understandable reaction. Anyway, I better crack on. No neighbours or no colleagues passing me today. I've got a few more calls today. I think there's 14 today. This one started at 7:30. I've already done 4. Yeah, I've seen 4 clients this morning. I've got a couple to see at lunchtime. and then the main event is this evening with the rest of the clients I have to see. I will be back home probably about 7:45 tonight. Saving grace is, though, after having a week off, this being a full working day, this one has tomorrow off to recuperate from the excesses of today. Anyway, more to come in future videos. If you do like this sort of thing, please like, share and subscribe. I will be getting back to the more motoring sides of this channel, especially with the motorbike and the Mini. There is still a disc brake and pad thing replacement to do. It's not urgent, but I will get that in the can at some point. So stay tuned, don't lose faith. Be nice to each other, take care, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.